In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I took this old jet ski trailer and turned it into a completely custom built trailer for my 1648 Jon Boat. Send it! If you like Jon Boats, mud motors, and things that make you want to just yell, yeah, yeah, then you've come to the right place, partner. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure you go right down below here, hit that subscribe button and a little bell thingy right next to it so that you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. So this is my super spectacular, awesome introduction to the rebuilding of this little tiny Jon Boat trailer. And if you're wondering why the sound of my voice is not matching me actually talking, that is because I am a dummy and forgot to plug the mic all the way in on the camera. And when you forget to plug the mic all the way in and it's only plugged in halfway, it sounds like this. So yeah, I'm a dummy. Anyways, back to the trailer. This is the trailer that came with my Jon Boat. My Jon Boat is 16 feet long. It is 48 inches wide. This is an old jet ski trailer that some Jim Bob redneck scooter decided to turn into a Jon Boat trailer to fit my 1648 Jon Boat. It is a total of about 4 foot long where the actual bunks are. The bunks themselves are about 5.5, 6 feet long. And some genius cut the original tongue off this trailer that was a tilt trailer and decided to weld in a piece of 2x2 square tube that's about 18 foot long. Why? I have no idea. And if I remember correctly, in this part of the video, I was explaining to you all of my brilliant plans for what I was going to do with this boat, what parts we were going to salvage, and I think we figured out the mic was not plugged in all the way about right here. Here is where the front of the boat was, and here is where the first support was. So there was about a total of 8 or 9 feet of the front of the boat that wasn't even supported at all by any type of bunk. And the boat hung off the back about 2 foot, which is no bueno. And we've also got to get these 2 bunks to where they actually fit on the boat. So what was happening is one was actually on one of the ribs on the bottom of the boat, and the other one was like on the very, very edge of the boat. So it was really, really awkward trying to get it on and off this trailer. It just didn't work. So those got to go too. So first things first, we've got to strip all the old junk off this trailer. We're pulling the fenders. Now we are going to reuse the fenders here in just a little bit, but I need them out of the way so that we can get some welding and stuff done. The old bunks are coming off, the old tongue's coming off. We're going to put a whole new tongue on it, and we're going to extend the trailer about 5 feet total. Now you'll notice over here on the far right hand side of your screen, you will see a nice little green welder over there. That is my new Harbor Freight titanium flux core welder. I do not have my big welder over at my buddy Josh's shop where we're actually filming this at right now. I had just recently bought this new flux core welder because I wanted to upgrade from the old like 15-year-old Northern Tool one I had, and I figured this would be a great opportunity to use it since the thickest stuff we're going to be welding on is about 3/16. Now, I am not a professional welder by any means, but I do know how to weld, and I do like to weld. But this is just a handy little 110 volt welder that I can keep around the shop and do some little small projects with like this, and it was a good time for me to test it out and see how it worked. And I ended up really, really liking it. Now, I'm sure the internet keyboard warrior / part-time professional welders that can do the 5G inverted upside down, you know, one-legged stand welding test, you're probably going to come down in the comment section and tell me all about how I'm doing this wrong, I'm using the wrong welder, and blah, 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 blah. If you want to see what they have to say, you can go down in the comment section and see that, because I'm sure they will be along shortly. But if you'd like to know what has 2 thumbs and doesn't really care what they say, it's that guy right there wearing that camouflage Send It shirt. So what I've done is I've taken some 3" by 2" C-channel and we've cut it up into 5-foot sections so that we could extend the trailer out 5 more feet. I've already beveled everything, cleaned it up, and tacked everything into place. Now all I gotta do is my final welds, and this portion of the trailer for the outside extension portion will be done. After we get done with the final welds on these, then we'll go in and put another center support in, and then we can start working on the tongue. The 2 5-foot extensions that I welded into this trailer, as well as the center support brace that you're watching me weld in now, is a 3" by 2" C-channel. So it's not boxed in like a tube. It's actually just, it looks like a C from the side, and it's a 3/16 inch thick. So I went with 3/16 because the 1/8 inch would allow for a little bit more flex, and with that much length on the trailer, I wanted to make sure that this thing was going to be nice and stiff.
So after the center support was welded in, it was time to move on to making some side steps. I've always wanted to have a trailer with side steps, so I decided to take the existing cover, this like little 1/8 inch angle that's over the back of where the taillights would go, and I extended that out a couple of inches so that the taillights would be completely covered and not hanging off on the side. And then I took some 2x2 angle iron, which is like an 1/8 inch thick, and welded up a frame back behind where the fender is, behind the tire, and then I also welded up one in front of the tire to give me like a couple of feet on each side of the tire where I could actually step up onto the trailer and help me get into the boat. Once I had all the framework for the side steps all welded in place, then it was time to go over the top of it with some wire grate. I can't remember which gauge this wire grate is. It's whatever kind of expanded metal they sell at Tractor Supply. So if you're looking for what I use, just go to the Tractor Supply metal aisle and whatever they have up on the shelf is what I used. I think I ended up using a total of 3 pieces, and it was like 2 foot by 2 foot sections is what they sold it in. So that's the wire grate that I used. So after getting the tongue in place and got it all leveled out, the next thing I did was I took some of the old 2x2 tube that was used for the old tongue on the trailer, and I cut it up into some small sections so that I could make like a little front angled bumper thing that would hold the bunk on the front that actually stopped the boat from moving any further on the trailer, and it also give me a place to mount my winch. Now the portion on the very front of this little bumper bunk thingy, I don't really know what the official term is, but the piece that's on the front of that is just a leftover piece of the trailer support that I was using, that 2 inch by 3 inch C-channel. And once I get finished welding all this stuff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of board with some foam on the front of it and put it on the other side of that C-channel so the boat will have something soft to kind of run up against and winch down to. So after my front bunker, bunker, bump thingy, I don't really know what in the world we're calling this thing, but after I finished that thing, the next thing to do was I wanted to add a big step on the front of the trailer, up on the tongue, so that I could get from up on the boat ramp onto the trailer and not have to be, you know, balancing on the tongue. Give me a nice little place to step. So I took some more of that old 2 inch by 2 inch tube that I had from the original tongue, cut it up into pieces, and I made me a little step on the front, which is about 1 foot by 1 foot on each side, and then covered the entire top of it with wire. And then the last thing to do as far as fabrication and welding was to make me some steps that actually go up our front little bumper support bunk thingy that holds the front of the boat. And that way I could actually walk from the step that's on the tongue up into the boat without having to like take a really big step. So I measured them out. They're about 9.5, 10 inches apart, and that gives me plenty of room to where I can put my feet up and walk up into the boat pretty comfortably without any issues. So after all of the welding and grinding and making this thing all nice and cool looking is done, it is time to get this thing out in the yard and get it ready for primer and paint. I was not going to waste an entire day grinding this thing and wire wheeling it, so I busted out the old Harbor Freight sandblaster and went to town on it with some coal slag, also from Tractor Supply. I need to get Tractor Supply to like sponsor this channel. We shop at Tractor Supply way too much. But anyways, after getting everything all sandblasted, cleaned up real good, degreased, it was ready for primer and paint. I'm not going to go into real big detail about this. It was fairly simple. I used Ace Hardware brand Rust Stop paint. It's really good paint. I've used it on quite a few trailers in the past, and it's held up really well. It sprays really smooth, and it's kind of cheap. It's like a little less than $5 a can. I think it's about $4 or $5. And I think I used a total of 3 cans of primer to give me 2 coats of primer on this boat. And I think I used about 4 cans of flat black paint. So after 2 good coats of flat black paint, there's nothing left to really do on the metal portion of the trailer except let it sit and cure for a few days. Moving on to the wooden bunks that the boat is actually going to be sitting on, I'm trying something a little bit different that I've seen used on some bigger boats before. We're actually going to be putting foam on top of these. So the first thing I did was I went to, I think it was Lowe's, grabbed a couple of 2x6s that were 12 foot long and cut them down to the length of my boat. The actual flat portion of the bottom of my boat is a little over 11 feet, so I think I cut them like right at 11 feet. Now these are just plain old 2x6s. They're not pressure treated, they're not rated for ground contact, they're not waterproof, they're not marine grade, they're not submarine grade, they're not aeronautical space engineer grade, they're just plain old whatever was cheap 2x6s. There is no reason to spend a gajillion dollars on some kind of special wood that the boat is just going to sit on and it's going to touch water for like 5 minutes at a time. And plus these things are going to get painted. And I use the same Ace Hardware brand paint that I used to paint the trailer with, put 2 coats on it, it soaked in really good. I'm not really worried about the bunks. They'll last me for as long as I have this boat, and if they start to rot out for some reason, oh well, I'll just go rip them off, paint some new ones, and throw them back on there. So after getting the 2x6 bunks done and the paint was dry, it was time to move on to putting foam on top of them. I wanted to use EVA foam. I didn't want to like really blow some big money on SeaDek or HydroTurf or any of the other big name brands. So I bought some cheap stuff off of Amazon. It was like 70, 80 bucks a roll, something like that. And it's that teak kind of looking stuff. I've read some spotty reviews on it. Some reviewers say that it works great. Some say that it absolutely sucks. I said, I'm just trying to use it on the bunks, you know, see if it lasts. If it doesn't, I'll rip it off and try something else. But I just wanted to have something to give the boat some cushion. And I also didn't want to have carpet because I just got done putting Gator Glide on this boat. And Gator Glide does not recommend carpet for your bunks on your trailers when you're using Gator Glide because of the sand and dirt and stuff that can get embedded down inside the carpet. And I figured foam would be a good way to give it some cushion and support, but also protect the bunks and the bottom of the boat. Now, after using this foam, I can absolutely say with 100% certainty that I do not recommend it to anybody. The adhesive on the back of it absolutely sucks. I tried sticking it to a couple of different surfaces like wood and painted wood and some aluminum, and it lasted for a total of about a couple of hours, and then it just started peeling off. This stuff was terrible. So I decided to use some contact adhesive, actually put some contact adhesive on the bunks and then contact adhesive on the backside of the foam and stick them together like that. And so far it is holding up okay. Once the bunks were completed and dried, bolted them back onto the trailer, and here we go with all brand new hardware. We've got a brand new hitch. We've got all brand new LED submersible trailer lighting, and I'll have links to all this stuff down in the description box. I bought all of this stuff on Amazon. I didn't spend a whole lot of money. This stuff is all really cheap. We've got a new hand winch up front, which turned out perfect. I actually was kind of worried about mounting it upside down the way that I did, but it turned out that it works really, really well. I had no issues. I kept the tilt function on the trailer. Not that I'll ever need it, but it is nice to know that I have that option if needed later on down the road. I got some new like boat buckle ratcheting tie down super strength awesome thingies to go here on the back, which I've never had before, and they are worth every penny. I think they were about 50 or 60 bucks. I absolutely love those things. And then to wrap up the entire thing, I decided to hydro dip the trailer wheels to match my boat. And if you don't know, that's what I do for a living. I do hydro dipping and Cerakote, and I have a whole nother YouTube channel dedicated to all that. So if you'd like to see some of that, I'll leave a video card right up here in the top right hand corner, and you can go check that out when you want. So I've had the boat on the trailer for about a month now. I've taken it to the lake and the river about 3 or 4 times that I can think of. And so far, everything works great. I'm really, really happy with the way that it turned out. I know it's not professional, and I know that I probably didn't do the way that you would do it, or your friend would do it, or your best buddy that's a welder would do it, but I really like the way that it turned out. Now, for those of you who are losing your mind and are going to go down in the comments section because you didn't watch all the way to this portion of the video, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways, but for those of you that notice that I did not move the axle on the trailer after I made the trailer longer, there is a reason for that. The trailer is actually balanced very well at the current length that it is. And as this boat build progresses, the motors that are going to be going on this boat are going to progressively get heavier and heavier. So when this boat is in its final configuration, it's going to be extremely back heavy. So I measured kind of that 60-40 rule where you have 40% of the weight behind the trailer wheels and then 60% of the weight on the front side of the trailer wheels. I kind of measured that out based on where the boat is actually sitting on the trailer. And once that final motor is on there, this thing is going to level out just perfect. So for all of the internet expert trailer engineers, I get it. I didn't do what you would have done. It's going to be okay. Speaking of online trailer experts, I'll go ahead and address this as well. Yes, I know the tongue is like 10 miles long on this trailer, but the trailer backs just fine. It's not any worse than any other like tandem axle trailer that's kind of long. It backs up and drives just fine. It's not an excessive amount of tongue weight. I really like that I can take this trailer and turn it more than 90 degrees to the side of the truck and not have to worry about it jackknifing, hitting my bumper, or messing up the back of my truck or anything. I mean, literally, I would have to be looking out my window and see the trailer beside me before it would actually hit my back bumper. So I'm really glad I did that. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, trailer tongue's like 10 miles long, you can't do that. I really like it. It turned out great, and I will probably do that on more of my boat builds in the future. Now, we're going to roll those bloopers here for you in just a second, but first, let us always remember, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you a boat. Bye, guys.
Well, I done messed up now, AA Ron.
So had the trailer on.
Fucking balls of it. God, that's hot. Woo!
Is it hot?
Fucking duck.
I told you wearing a lot of gloves.
Back. This is hot.